hear her.
There.
All right, Lisa. So we left off with, you have your classes, you have your laughing yoga, of which I was trying to explain that actually to Chloe yesterday in the car. I had her in stitches. Just playing, she was just watching all of my variations of laughing, and she almost peed her pants.
All right. Because that's what we go for.
Totally. I'm going to make her pee her pants.
I'm going to make her pee.
It was just awesome. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it's always a perk when you do it to children, just not to seniors, because they like to do that anyway. Nurse! It's like, that's such a perk that it's like, oh, I'm sorry.
You peed your pants! Crap! Oh my god, you grabbed your pants too!
Wait, I didn't do that one yet. It's just like, I'm sorry.
I thought it was a fart. Okay, this is such a great way to start Monday.
Okay, so, yeah.
On that note, so thank you for that, but all in all, downtime.
Downtime, yes. It's it's kind of a learning curve for me.
Isn't it?
Because it is really such a habit that I was like going, okay, like I would get kind of startled. I was like, oh, that's what this is, like startling. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, all right. Yesterday, I'd done this thing over the weekend, so I was gone at the mall and that, and I did pretty good. As far as eating and I ate when I was hungry, and that worked out. That worked out just fine because I was busy for 3 full days. No problem. Mm-hmm. But then last night I got home, and then I was kind of just decompressing and putting stuff away, and I realized that I'm kind of going into the front room. That's where my office is, and back into the TV room, and then in the kitchen, and then putting stuff away, and I realized I just automatically take something and put it in my mouth.
And you're going through the kitchen.
Yeah. Just putting or if it there's a bowl of jelly beans sitting on my dining room table from Easter, and all of a sudden I realized I was in the front room, and I'm like, what am I eating? Mm-hmm. All of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, when did I do that? It's like, okay, I gotta stop doing that.
You have to know that you are not alone. I have people that say, I'm in the pantry, I don't know why I'm in there, I just went in there, and then I realize, what am I doing?
What am I doing? And so I've been aware that I go into the kitchen, and I open the fridge instead. I'm like going, oh yeah. Okay.
Because you're looking for something that's entertaining.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, I get that, but I was busy, I was doing, I wasn't bored, and then I just I'm standing in the front room going, I'm eating. How did I get something in my mouth at all when I wasn't bored? And
they're jelly beans.
And they're jelly beans.
Do you know how many you ended up having?
3.
Well, good job.
Yeah.
For catching yourself.
Yeah, and I was just like, okay. Because I'm going, well, and see, there were black jelly beans, which I liked.
Like licorice?
Yeah.
Oh, I love licorice.
Yeah. And I was like, well, I liked them, but I was like, but there was really no reason to eat them.
Outside of just, you were trying to, it's like eating popcorn at the movie theater, where you're really paying attention to the movie theater, but you're constantly stimulating. It's like this.
It's like this
huge
thing.
It's just mindless. Those are going to be. That's easy. Just it's as easy as you stopped at 3 and it was no big deal.
Right, and that was just it. I stopped at 3. I was like going, okay, see, I get I did that, and I was like, okay, I get I did that. All right, and now I know I do that. So it's like, be aware. Yeah, well, and when you're on something like the very low calorie protocol, because it is so restricted as far as you can't. It's you're kind of constantly conscious of what is going on.
Whereas
now I'm like, not so much.
Well, and that's why I tell everybody, it's like the breaks on the protocol are so freaking valuable, because it allows you to understand the things that you don't really know you're doing or that still exist.
Yeah.
Remember I said it's like filtering things out?
Yes.
And now you're aware. It's like, oh, there's some minor mindless stuff. And as soon as you know it's happening, you just stop.
Right, yes. Yeah. And that was the thing. I was like going, okay, well, I stopped. At least I stopped.
Well, yeah. Well, and you're less likely to do it now.
Yeah. And I get I am hard on myself then. It's just like, oh, gosh. Like, I shouldn't have been eating those. And I went through that. I got over that fairly quickly because I realized that was just something I hadn't been aware of anyway.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, why beat yourself over something like that?
Well, because I apparently enjoy doing that or something. I'm not exactly sure what that is.
To repeat kind of what we talked about before I turn this on, you have to look at, because we're not born to self-criticize like that.
Yeah.
We're just not. How many children sit there and tell themselves how stupid they are at 2 years old? You know what I mean? I can't really, talk. I suck.
Yeah, and really, who does that to a child?
People do all the time.
Yeah, well, they do.
I know. And that's the thing. It's like, because why? I mean, make sense of why an adult would take a child and make a child, it all comes to the adult's fears in life and what they don't want the outcome of the child to be.
Right. So
the parent ends up taking all of their biggest vulnerabilities and what they're afraid of, and then telling the child that they can't be that. Yeah. And what does the child end up being?
That. Yeah, okay.
Correct.
Oh, believe me.
Well, and then there's massive criticism. I mean, I look at myself as a mom. What's the biggest criticisms I have with my children? What they're eating. Oh. If they're hungry. And I have to realize that I cannot put any emotion into my observations with those kids, because I do not want them to feel like I'm criticizing them and don't like them.
Yeah.
Because that's where things get messed up.
Yeah.
Is when the child perceives the relationship between the child and the parent as conditional.
Right. Right.
Like, my daughter this weekend got in a fight with my son, and they were in the pool, and Chloe wouldn't get in the pool, and I was like, Chloe, what are you doing? I was like, why aren't you getting in the pool? And she thought I was mad at her, therefore I didn't like her for getting in the pool.
Oh, sure.
Anyways. So when you look at your reaction to this, when did you develop this criticism, and when did it become evaluation of your value?
Yeah.
It's when you emotionalize. So if you felt bad about eating those 3
I did.
M&Ms, you felt bad about yourself.
Yeah, I did.
Well, which is crazy.
For about a minute, yeah.
Because you realized that's crazy.
I was like going, oh, that's like silly.
Totally silly.
Yeah, that was just silly.
But your response, in the brain. Now keep in mind that a lot of times the response in the brain is a wired response to fear, that's where the practice of that reaction came probably from a childhood.
Right. I'm sure it did. Yes. Absolutely.
And the more you're just like, oh, whatever, the less it'll occur.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because you're not responding to it. You're not letting it perpetuate, nor is it defining you.
Okay.
If you were on a diet and you had those 3, what would you have done? Well, I ruined it anyways.
Yeah.
I know.
I totally would have done that. Oh, well, since I screwed that up, I might as well just eat some stuff.
And
And then I would have just, ate the kitchen.
And you didn't even
No, I didn't. No, not at all.
But you would have done it anyways.
Yeah.
Well, because probably to make up for the diet, you would have started today.
Right. It's like, well, I might as well do it because tomorrow I'm going to start this diet, and I might as well just eat a whole bunch of stuff.
I know. So here's
that is really kind of insane. Hello.
Have you really recognized? I mean, how often have you felt that way during this process?
I have felt that way during this process, but it's not as much as when I do Weight Watchers, or when I was doing MetaFast. I honestly thought I was gonna kill somebody, because I'm going, first off, the food sucked, and then I'm going, this doesn't make any sense that I have to eat this crappy food and then lose weight. I'm like, this doesn't compute.
Well, you didn't really enjoy it. Didn't really want to do it.
And I didn't want to
always
do it.
wanted to go back to the way you were eating before in the Liberty
Always. Always.
But how often were the people who you'd paid to assist you also judging the fact if you cheated? They'd be like, what's your problem?
Yeah, well, they were like going, okay, so they were always trying to like, well, what can you substitute that with?
So it's keep the behavior, choose a different type of food.
Correct. That was always the thing. And I'm like, and see, that never actually was, to me, I was like, well, this doesn't work for me. Like, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand why this isn't working.
Because it's not the same food of choice that I like to eat for my binging. Like, so binge on mushrooms?
I know. I was like thinking, well, okay, if I wanted to binge on broccoli, I think I would. I think, well, then I'd be eating freaking broccoli.
Have a lot of gas.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like going, I don't understand. I'm like, you don't understand. I like potato chips. That's what I like.
Yeah.
I like the crunchy, salty, greasy chip. Broccoli doesn't come close to that.
No, it doesn't. And so it didn't make sense. But keep in mind, they did not understand this. They think it's the food that causes that pain. They don't realize that, no, it's your desires to eat for all these emotional reasons.
Yes.
Plus, broccoli does not stimulate the cocaine center of the brain like a chip does.
Yeah, which, hence me not liking broccoli all them. Actually, I really do like broccoli, but I'm like going, yeah, but it's just not the same.
No, it's not. Well, it's not on many levels, but you also don't demonize broccoli.
No.
When you demonize a certain food, there's an appeal to it.
Yeah.
Because it's bad.
Yeah. And
on top of the fact that it totally does.
Right.
Stimulate. Help out the fun center of the brain.
Well, and hello, I like having that stimulate. It's like, woohoo.
Well, exactly. So, anyhow. Was that it? Is that the hardest part? I mean,
that,
any binging? Any, emotional, I'm entitled?
Oh, I did. I was going, there was something because I wanted to remember to tell you. So after last Monday, then Monday night, I went freaking crazy. And I was like, and I kept asking myself, why am I doing this? And that was the thing. I'm entitled to do this. I can eat if I want to. No one gets to tell me that I don't get to eat. Nobody.
It's the truth. You are saying the truth.
I know, and I was like, good.
You must have felt like I was telling you not to.
But see, it didn't
have anything to do with this?
It didn't occur to me like it was you. It occurred to me like,
well, I wonder if it was second phase boundaries.
Yeah.
The fact that it's no sugar, no starch.
Yeah.
Still eat with hunger.
Yeah, something like, I was like going, and then I justified that, well, if I just have one cheat day a week.
Oh, people do that all the time.
And I was like, what?
Could you tell me, is that not addictive behavior?
Yeah.
Anybody? Okay, all of you out there who say, I can have one cheat day a week, you have an addiction. I know you don't think so, but you do.
And I was like, what is that? Because that's totally what I thought. And I wanted to make sure and tell you that because I was like going, okay, this is new. I'm doing this.
You're
and
playing
I'm aware.
The game.
Yeah.
You are so playing the game. Here's the deal. The end result for you, the win for you is the binge.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to say, look, we're trying to get rid of this, and then you feel threatened. So that's where the entitlement comes in. So the way you explain it, you're like, no one can tell me.
Nobody.
You were feeling very threatened because we are getting that much closer.
Which I was like, wait, okay, I figured this is part of it, and in my head, I'm like, okay, logically I get that, because I get stuff kind of logically, and then I was like going, yeah, but emotionally I was like going,
you know what it is.
Do it.
It's I just want you to picture this. I've got a 2-year-old who sucks on a pacifier. And I'm saying, we're done with the pacifier, right? And the baby goes, mm-hmm. We throw it in the trash. Well, later, the baby's looking around and going, oh, no, she didn't. And the baby goes into the trash, picks up the pacifier and goes, this is mine. And then the baby goes and takes the pacifier and is gonna hide it now.
Yes. Oh yes.
And once a week, it's gonna go sit there and suck on it.
Yes, and that's it. Mm-hmm. She's like, once a week, I'll just do it once a week.
I know it. And part of it is that it is a matter of there is nothing I can say or do for you. Lisa, there is nothing I can say or do at this point.
Great.
Because it is ultimately your responsibility, and it's the last moment before you it's you've got to go way deep down inside and realize this is the quitting smoking part.
Yeah,
this is the moment.
This is actually the deal.
Yeah, because there is where we've pretty much hit, I think, almost every single freaking angle, which is what I'm here to help you do.
Right.
But now it is honestly a matter of, well, if you have to look at that desire and really ponder upon it.
Yeah.
You know, because it's a matter of choice at this point. Because if you're, what is it feeding?
Right. Well, and really, like, seriously, after I do it, oh my gosh, the self-loathing and hatred of just, like, I can't even believe I did that.
Oh, and you feel physically.
Oh, totally physically ill. Mm-hmm. And I'm like,
that's a good thing, just so that you know. Because it's getting you closer to making that decision.
Yeah,
I'm almost tempted to say, hey, have a binge day today. Do it intentionally without the emotion.
Oh, okay.
And granted, the risk being you're going to gain back everything you've lost.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah.
But emotionally, you need to give yourself like free rein at some point without emotional drive.
Right.
So that you really see the raw reality of what it is. This is what this does. When would this be valuable? How could this be valuable? And what is worth of this crap?
Right.
Self-mutilation.
Right.
You need to have a moment with that.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, have we tackled everything? I mean, there's reward, entitlement, there's security, there's, it's one of your favorite things to do.
Right.
It's like a huge amount of your identity.
Right.
So take it out and what's left,
Right.
That's the part. It's like, are you willing to find out? I don't know. I think you already kind of know, but now it's just the last like remnants of, well, I don't know if I want to get rid of it, so let's just keep it.
I don't want to keep it. I really do not.
Well, it's kind of like keeping a pack of cigarettes with you just in case.
Yeah. And see, I never did that. Like when I smoked, when I quit, I quit.
There was
no doing anything else.
I want to talk about that for you, like the process of quitting smoking for you it wasn't immediate. There had to have been like a process.
There was
to letting that go to where you were like, what was the last straw with that, with smoking cigarettes? When did you realize it's over?
Well, I had it was a 2-year process, which I think is, kind of insane, but
I don't, because the 2-year process ended up with you not smoking. So
yeah. Well, what happened was I had quit before, and I had done it's actually an antidepressant that they billed as to help you quit smoking thing.
So it's off label.
So yeah, it was this antidepressant I took for 2 weeks, and then weaned myself off, and I quit for 2 years. And then I was on vacation, and I started again.
Do you remember that first cigarette you had on that vacation?
Oh my God, yes.
How did you?
And I still remember it. And that was 9 years ago.
I want to talk real quickly about how did you pre-plan it? Did you make a choice ahead of time? Did you go buy your favorite cigarettes and have it in secret? Let's talk about.
It was very social. I was in Mexico. I was doing a class, and I was on a vacation. And I'm at the bar. I'm single. I'm at the bar, like flirting with these 2 guys, and they're smoking. And then finally I just said, can I have one of those? And drinking. Can I have one of those? And the guy's like, sure, and lit it for me. And I just I'm not kidding.
You went into your own world.
I thought, I mean, it was orgasmic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was
For
like,
the brain, it's that same area of the brain.
Oh my God, this is fabulous. I mean, seriously fabulous. And I was like, wow. And then, you know, I was up to a pack a day within a week.
Yeah, oh yeah, because your brain.
It just was like.
And your habits.
Yeah. And so I did that, and then I did that for 2 years, and then I'm like going, I have to quit this. This is enough.
Why? Get into the feeling. What was the downside of it? I mean, you've got to. I want you to like see if there's something consistent with those feelings that we can put into this food thing. Okay. I think you're in the same place.
Yeah, I felt like crap.
Physically. What were the symptoms?
I was tired. I was overweight already by then. Not like I am now, but I was overweight. There was just like walking and all of that was like hard, like, and I couldn't breathe very well. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, this, and it started to like take time out of, like, I'm working and then like I had to go smoke.
So it's taking,
and I was like, like, this is stupid. Mm-hmm. You know, like, why would I do that? And people really did start telling me that it's like, oh my gosh, you like smell, you know, you smell like a cigarette. And I'm like, really? Like, before I didn't care.
Like breath, skin, it just kind of permeates from everything. Every cell. Like, or so, like, yeah.
And I was working at the time, I was doing computer work at the company I was with, and it was just me and this guy in our office, and he's just like going, dear God, like, you reek. I'm sorry. You know, and then, and that was like that's embarrassing, and it's kind of shame, like, I felt ashamed.
It wasn't worth.
No.
The cigarette wasn't worth how you felt.
Yeah.
How other people perceived you.
Exactly. And even though, you know, I know people liked me, it wasn't that people hated me because I smoked. That wasn't it. Mm-hmm. But it was just like, it's like, really, why do you do that? I mean, you're just killing yourself. And, you know, I know that that's like, to a lot of people who smoke, that's just rhetoric. Because at first when you start hearing that, it's rhetoric. Mm-hmm. But after a while, it was just like, well, I totally got, like, and I wasn't like involved with this guy or anything. We worked together. Yeah. That's what we did.
You were friends. He was friends enough to be able to say, dude, you stank.
Yeah. Okay. He was my friend. He was a nice guy. You know, he just was a nice guy. And I was like, wow, I don't really.
So did you quit pretty much immediately after that?
No. It took me a while, and I went and did hypnosis. Okay. And just the fact of relaxing and having that helped me.
The strategy of getting through.
Yeah. And being able to do that was like so helpful. And then it was one day.
It's over.
It's done. I was driving in my car, and I'm driving down 169, and I'm like going, oh, I totally get it. I'm never smoking again.
Okay, we need to have that processing happen for you with food. Yeah. Because you know what, I'm listening to you, and I'm like, okay, it's as if you're talking about the binge eating disorder. Yeah. That honestly, it's not healthy. You stink, Lisa. Is that what I need to say? You smell like garlic.
You smell like garlic
and licorice.
Licorice and potato chips, for God's sake. That's gross.
Well, and the thing is that because you live in a culture where, first of all, obesity is normal. It's now norm. Yes. It doesn't mean we don't discriminate, because that's the hardest part, is that people discriminate however they want you to eat and binge eat with them. Yes. So you've got a lot of things that are very confusing, whereas this smoking is just, you know, it's great with people who smoke. People who don't smoke have a little less tolerance. Correct. And it's, you know, there's all the science to back it. There's all 10 times more plus 3 times the depth of science to back obesity. Yeah. But for some reason, we don't see it like it causes cancer. Right. It does.
I'm thyroid disorder. I actually am aware of that. Okay. I was like going, yeah, the whole medical thing. I'm like going,
I'd much rather you smoke a cigarette than binge.
eat. Yeah.
No, I did. Yes, I did say that.
Yeah, I'm not smoking.
But anyhow, I don't want you to go back to that, but if you really put, binge eating disorder / obesity and compare it to smoking, what you have is by far much worse. Okay? So, however, it's not something people around you, it's not as obvious as cigarettes. It doesn't affect other people.
Correct.
It really doesn't. Whereas, you can look at it with cigarettes from a totally different angle. But you need to see this behavior with food as something no different than how you quit smoking, apply it to this. I think we've gone through a lot of this kind of looking at it from the angles, but there is that moment you need to have with yourself. If you can go back to that moment in your car on 169 and how you came to it, what was the process of thought that you said, over?
Yeah, that's it.
Because there was something in your head that basically you were thinking and you were like, it had to have been the game of benefit versus risk.
Yeah.
And you just said, never again.
Yeah. And I probably had actually stopped. Like, it had been a week or a week and a half or something, so I hadn't smoked. Like, I just hadn't smoked, and I was like,
I don't need it.
I don't need that. Like, I'm just never doing that again.
But there's always the willingness to deal with the side effect, because your body does go through withdrawal, where you're just like, it's worth it, I'll just get through it.
And I did, when I quit the first time, I gained like 25 pounds. When I quit the second time, I gained 30.
Well, how much of it then was because you had an alternative to deal? We're not giving you an alternative.
Right. See, like, I ate because I wasn't smoking. So hence me being this weight.
Correct.
Because I still have all that weight on.
Do you understand how would this be if there was an alternative to stress, anxiety, fun? If there was, if we said, hey, we're going to consciously give you another addiction.
Oh, yeah, see, I don't want to do that.
I don't want you to either.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that make it a little easier for you? Because you could, it's like saying, well, we're going to take out the pacifier, we're going to give you a little blankie.
Yeah. Yes.
We're going to give away the blankie, and we're going to give you a toy.
Yeah.
We're going to take away the toy, and I'm going to give you a DS. I'm going to take away the DS, and we've got, basically, here we are at age 40.
At age 51.
We're going to give you the alcohol.
Now I have food. Great. Yeah, I went through the smoking, alcohol, I did all kinds of things way back when, and now I'm like, oh, okay, apparently food is the last addiction I can have.
Well, and this is why I always say it's not about your weight. It's truly about a behavior.
Yes.
And that's the other part to this. You've never reduced your food intake because of addiction. And it's always had to do with deserved outcome. Right. Which is, I have to lose weight for me to make this worth it. Right. And even so, it's like you could lose the weight and then you just go back to it, and who gives a shit if you gain it back? You don't even monitor weight when you're gaining back. That's typical of most people. Right. Makes sense? Yes. So we are really getting down to, when did you start using pacifiers? Yeah. When did you, at a young age? And this is the first time we're saying you do not need a pacifier, Lisa.
Right. Right. I can let that go.
By choice. Right. Because really when you think about what we're trying to get you to do, it's like, what circumstance would merit mutilation with food? In your mind, there's like, well, there's this, and this. Yeah. That's like keeping the pack of cigarettes. Yeah. Just in case there's this, or this.
Yeah. If there's, it's like, well, see, like if I got divorced, well, then I could see me doing that.
Would you really? Because then you're on the market again.
No, I would.
Because it goes back and forth between the two. You could give a shit.
I could care less if I was on the market. It's like, that's so not what I want to do.
Okay, so but here, do you understand?
Yeah, I do.
That if you have those, you will sabotage.
Absolutely.
Because the thing is, if you don't continue to eat excessively, what will happen to your body shape, size, and weight? It will. The body is capable of healing itself. It will
alter and.
But then what happens if you get invested emotionally in feeling healthy? then what happens with your, then you're going to have to sabotage your health.
Oh,
a lot of times people say, well, I don't want to get thin because then I'm stuck with it.
Oh.
That means I cannot eat excessively, and I don't want to have to give that up. Right. So therefore, I'm not going to let it go. I'm just going to sabotage.
Oh, got it. Yeah, no, yeah. I actually
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
That is totally the deal. It's just like, well, no, if I do that, because then I can't ever do what I really like doing.
I had a moment.
Yes, that's actually true.
High five.
That is very true. It's like, oh my God, I so get that. Like, that's so insidious in my brain, too. And I was like, oh my God, I do that.
I can't wait to post this one.
I was like, oh crap. That's what it's like for me over here, by the way.
There are moments I'm like, I need someone writing. Write it down.
Robin's over here.
Because I'm probably not going to pull this out.
And I'm over here. Shh.
You exposed me, damn it.
I get that now. And actually, it's funny. I know I've actually thought exactly what you just said. I've thought it. And then went, oh, well, no, that just can't even be
honestly,
true.
If you lose all this weight, it's like, then you'll have, potentially, if you invest your ego in the fact that you've lost weight and you feel so good, to then, once again, know that, well, I already know I'm going to pull out. It's like pull out the food cart again.
Right.
Then I have to be okay with losing what I feel like I've gained. Mm-hmm. And it's like this, well, if you're not ready to let it go. So therefore you're not ready to, it's a total game.
Right.
I know. Right. But it always comes down to, in your head, and if I were you at some point, try to list the reasons why you're going to need food in the future. What potentially do you already know you're going to need that?
Like, I'm going to need to, just
getting divorced.
Yep. Divorce.
You will binge.
I will.
You see what I mean?
Yep.
So it's like...
And that's, and like right now I'm like going, well, that's kind of a choice that I'm making right now. Like, I don't have to do that.
Well, you already feel as if you don't know if you can handle it.
Right. There's a feeling there about that.
Like, that's a big vulnerability for you.
Yeah.
I always think, to me, what makes me the most vulnerable? You really have to think of those things. Mm-hmm. And then realize that is a perspective of how you value or how you perceive your ability to handle it emotionally. Okay. So basically you're saying emotionally, if you were to get divorced, it would be emotionally very trying for you.
Correct. It
would test you to the core.
Yeah. Yep.
And that may be in some way where the issues you have with your spouse, those have been very trigger.
Absolutely.
And that may be used that because your relationship with him is more valuable than I think you have come to realize.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true.
So.
Very true.
Get rid of the food.
Yeah.
And what does that force you to do with that relationship? If eating is not a way for you to protect yourself, then how do you proactively change what you're doing so that it becomes less of a vulnerability? Yeah. Did you understand what I said?
Yeah, I do.
Can I give you an example? Mm-hmm. I'm going to use myself because I obviously know myself better than anybody. But for me, it was the moment I realized the biggest, one of the hugest vulnerabilities was me not being able to purge.
Sure.
If you told me, Robin, you cannot over-exercise or puke the food up, that would have to me felt like death in itself.
Okay.
What I realized is that, well, if I don't over-consume the food, then I wouldn't have that vulnerability.
Right.
Then I wouldn't need the purge, and I wouldn't need to over-exercise. And then I realized, well, then in order for me not to over-consume, I'm going to have to not judge food, because if I deny myself of all of this food, then I wouldn't get so hungry.
Right.
If I don't get so hungry, then I wouldn't need to eat so much, then I wouldn't need to purge. So it's like the layers of it. So it's like if you look at this, if you didn't have this moment with your spouse, then you wouldn't need to cover it up. So it really forces you to go, well, if eating isn't an option, then the only way to feel better about it is to solve the problem.
Right. Which actually has been happening. Which is like, I'm like going, okay, not that we had an argument this weekend but I didn't find it necessary to go and eat anything I could because we had a fight.
So it wasn't, you developed emotional strength with that environment.
Right. So, it's like, I can deal with this. This is fine. This will not kill me.
Isn't that the truth?
Because that is actually like the feeling I get. It's like, this is going to kill me. This is going to kill me. Like, it hurts that much emotionally. Well, there's nothing that hurts.
But you understand that a lot of your feelings are being magnified by childhood, and all that. And now I think at this point it's like, well, you don't have all of that trauma backing your reactions anymore.
Right.
That's beautiful. Because you're way more sane when it comes to.
Absolutely. And I'm way more sane even when we fight. Like, it's not so charged, and it doesn't take forever to get over the fight. Like, we're over it.
Who wants to be upset?
I know.
It's really true. It's like, who really wants to have an angry relationship?
I'm like, okay, what's your deal?
Let's make this better immediately.
Because I have to go work today, so what's your deal?
I know, because you want to love each other.
Right. And I can't even tell you, like, on Sunday, like, he was mad at me, and I said something mean to him, which I apologize for a lot. and then on Sunday, like, he came over to the mall, and he visited me. And I was like,
he wanted to see how you were doing. Oh, he so loved you.
And I was like, what are you doing here? He's never done that. And I was like, and then he came and helped me pack up. And he's like, well, I'll leave work and I'll come help you.
Okay, so some of this is should be helping you develop
and I was
security.
Like going, okay. Because I was trying to, like, I wanted to say no. See, I wanted to, like, say no. And I was like,
God,
no,
Lisa.
just let him do what he feels he wants to do.
Okay, so what I've explained to you is essentially what's happening. Your eating issues between your spouse were triggered by insecurity with him.
Absolutely.
So as you are working on developing emotional security with each other with no attachments, your need and vulnerability to food with him is diminishing.
Yeah.
So here's the deal. The other part to this, to really speed this process up, when you make the decision it's not an option anymore, that's when things will speed up very quickly for you.
Okay. All right.
Just like, you know what, because honestly, there is, with the cigarettes, you had an outlet, so it was an easy transition.
Right.
We are now saying, tear down everything.
Mm-hmm.
Lose your house, lose your job, the death of your child, divorce from your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
What's food going to do for you? You know, like, break it down to the biggest vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
What would drop you to your knees and put a gun to your head.
Right.
It makes sense?
Yep.
Emotionally.
Yep. Yes, it does.
You got to get to where I would not go to food.
Yeah.
Like, you would not go to a cigarette. If it was the last day on the freaking planet, it doesn't do anything for you anymore, you don't have a desire for it, you wouldn't do that again.
Right. Like, I wouldn't, if you know, my son was in a, you know, car accident and he was killed, I wouldn't go to a cigarette. Ever.
Would you go to food?
Yeah.
Okay, so I need you to process these things, because as long as you have the option, it will
by myself.
In hiding.
Yeah. I was like going, I would hide that.
Have you ever?
That would be the hiding one.
Well, because you
never thought of that before.
Well, hiding means it's really private. And not only that, but you don't want anybody's judgment.
Yeah, it's like, grief is something I would go to food for. Grief. Like a grief.
So some of...
there's something with that.
Well, you feel incapable of it. Like, you're not capable of feeling it. So numbing yourself with an outside source, honestly, if you think about that, like, if one of my children was to pass, and I'm basically saying I'm not capable of feeling this, so therefore I'm going to worship food instead.
Right.
You're giving food the
power of.
Yep, and I've talked about this in some past vlogs, where when you're grieving, you're essentially hiding your son with food. Because your grief is, in essence, grief is a representation of the mass amount of unconditional love that you have for that person. If you think about all of that, that's what that is. Okay. And so instead of allowing that representation of love, you are ignoring it.
Right. Right. So it would just seem so overwhelming.
On top of binging.
Right. And then on top of binging. Like, oh, yeah. Yeah, I really have to get into, like, how that will...
Well, you just have to...
And, you know, like, right now, I'm, like, thinking, oh, like, I get, like, yeah, I don't...
It's going to be there no matter what.
Yeah, and I get, like, well, I don't actually have to go to food.
Because either way, it's going to be there.
Yeah.
I know, and I've done this with myself.
Yeah.
It sounds really weird. There are moments where I'm really trying to get to the core of my existence, and I do this randomly in meditation, where I am, you know, because you kind of lose it. You really do. You get part of life, and it's delusional a little bit, and you want to get down to the core of who you are, because that is truly the base of your life, the foundation of your life. And for me, it's my I always think, okay, what could I lose right now that would literally ruin my life? And I always think, God, I could be homeless, that doesn't matter. I know I've detached from things. I know I could detach from my spouse, who I love dearly. But it's always down to my children.
Right.
And I've often thought, so for me to be able to not use them as my source of value, like they're going to have this type of life so that I feel better about myself.
Sure.
Could I love my child if she's, 600 pounds? Absolutely. You know what? I know it. So, getting down to that level, what could I do to remove the grief of the loss of a child?
Sure.
Nothing.
Yeah.
There is nothing.
Yeah. There's no thing you can do.
No action.
No.
Because ultimately there is nothing that can fulfill the amount of love and capacity for me to love unconditionally of my child. There is no amount of food, Lisa, that you can eat that will fulfill the void of the loss of a child.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
So when you think of it that way, does that make any sense?
I know. That's exactly, because I was thinking, that I couldn't eat enough.
No, there is no possible way. There is no food in particular that would.
No food at all.
There is no substitute.
No,
so really that's literally what you're saying. I would substitute him for this food, and I'm like,
and it's like, no,
hold on.
No, I wouldn't.
That's why I didn't. You made the choice based on a reaction, and I'm telling you right now, chances are that if that happened, you would not eat.
No, I wouldn't.
I know. So you need to really, I think.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't.
I know.
That's because I'm like going, I probably wouldn't eat, actually.
There would be moments where waves of...
Sure.
I mean, my brother-in-law died at 33 of brain cancer.
Oh.
Yeah, and my mother-in-law, I don't know, you can't recover. No. Anyways, and my in-laws, and there's 4 of them. And I got to witness it because I was pregnant with Susie, and he lived in the house. He died in my mother-in-law's home. Okay, so she took care of them with hospice and watched the whole process end the last 2 months as a mother.
Sure.
And it never goes away.
No.
But there are waves of it as they just, like I describe it with my own loss of my mom that's impending. I mean, she has a terminal brain cancer. My mom does.
Okay.
I'm about to watch it again with my own mom.
Okay.
Anyhow, my point is, I am totally capable of it.
Right.
And if this were to happen to my child, I'm totally capable of it. It's just a matter of allowing the vulnerability to exist. It hasn't happened. I don't, but that is the risk of living.
Right.
But when you really get down to it, Lisa, what are you capable of tolerating emotionally? You have yet to really realize what you're capable of. And that's why I said with the death of your child, what compares to that?
Yeah, exactly. Nothing. Not one darn thing.
So it's like when you look at your relationship with food, we've got to get you to see it from this big perspective so that the decision is yours. It's not mine. I don't judge the process. I really don't, because it can take 2 years from now. It could be like a week. I don't know.
I prefer it not take 2 years from now.
But it's a matter of once the decision is made, then it is not an option.
And I get, like, when I started this, I knew I'm like going, okay, at some point in this process that I'm going to embark on, I go, I'm going to like go, okay, that's it.
It's a personal decision.
Yeah, that's the end.
This is the way it is for all addicts.
Yeah.
All addicts of every type. It is a personal decision. Yeah. And when the decision is made, you are basically saying, I am capable.
Right.
I'm going to make myself accountable to withstand emotional waves of vulnerability.
Right.
Wherever it comes from. Yeah. It comes from this side, it doesn't matter. It's overwhelming. Yeah. It's just it's an emotional accountability.
Yeah.
I did it myself. There was a moment where I said, I am willing to feel
vulnerable.
Insanity.
Yeah. and like, oh yeah, this is craziness.
And you don't have to be as insane as I was, but you're willing to feel waves of vulnerability, just knowing that ultimately when you look at the worst case scenario, this is nothing compared to the worst.
Right.
I know. And if you can see that perspective, and I always tell everybody, don't lose perspective, and when you do lose perspective, come in and see me.
Yeah.
Because we'll talk about the death of your child. Because everything compared to that is fabulous.
I know. Well, it's kind of like, hence like, being able to put up with, my son being in my home, being 23, and drinking.
Mm-hmm. And you're being tested to love him unconditionally.
Right. And I can get, I thought, I get that, like, I do love him unconditionally. I mean, I just love him.
Mm-hmm. But it's his personal choice when he decides to give it up. Because as soon as you meddle in that, you become the enemy.
And that's what's happened. Mm-hmm. Like, I was like going, wow, I'm doing what...
No one can take my food away.
Yeah, and what someone did to me. Like, I'm repeating it.
That is the life of an addict.
Yeah, and I was like...
That's why I'm like, you were probably brought up or dated, or, there's always predictability in learned behavior. It was learned!
Yeah, and I was like going... I got taught this stuff. I was like, okay.
You were taught the self-criticism.
Yep.
You were taught judge. Totally. I know. And it's counter. It is so counter to your real, authentic personality.
Yes.
We've talked about this. Like you say, I am such a bitch. I'm like, actually, you're not.
Right.
That's a reflection of your fucked up grandma.
Yeah. Yes.
Which one is it?
Yeah, or whoever. Whoever. I really do get, like, the criticism in my head is my mom. Like, I get that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I so get it. And I was like, okay, she's not running my life.
No, and she had her own issues, which is why she passed it down to you.
Right. Just like her mom passed down her issues. And love and adore my mother.
I know.
And
it's not about that.
Yeah, and I love and adored my grandma. But I was like going, oh yeah, I know that. I know that they passed down their crap.
No, and if they knew what they were doing, would they have changed it? Yes.
Yes.
Just like know what's going on, and know once you're aware that you would go, let's apologize.
Yep.
Let's make sure. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's make this right.
Because he's still 23. He's a child. He's still a kid. He's an adult kid, and be able to go, you know what, if I could go back and do this differently, I wouldn't have been so critical. I wouldn't have meddled in your business. I told, and just the fact that if he heard that, what if you heard that from your mom right now?
Oh, I know.
You'd crap your pants. You'd literally have a little dog.
Well, I'd cry. I would just cry. Like, what? Like, what?
But that's what... Okay.
Yeah.
What would that do to your relationship with the addiction or the need for an addiction? Because it's not about the food; it's about the need for something to support you.
Right. And it would be like, oh, well, Yeah.
On many levels, some of it would just close right up.
Yeah, it would be like, oh, okay, that's done.
Ended.
Yeah,
immediately.
Like
That's why I'm like, do not wait any more time between you and your son, because it could happen immediately.
And you know, it's funny because a lot of times I think, oh, this needs to take time. You know, I need to take some time to. And I'm like, that is a bunch of crap.
I tell that to everybody, and everybody who says that to me, I go, oh, this is not about.
Yeah, it's like no. I don't need the time to to deal with this.
No, it just takes a humility.
Yeah.
And it's not a matter of, here's the other thing. Your son is not below you.
No.
Hope to God that he becomes, you want him to evolve at such a rapid rate that he doesn't make the same mistakes, that he doesn't repeat it, that he's not passing on the family lineage
it's like,
of addiction.
Please don't do this.
Yeah, and
the poor thing. I want to just go home and hug him now. It's like, I love you.
Well, and that's really what it is.
Yeah.
And even just saying, you know what, I know, whatever, but you're freaking Superman in my eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Because if he's criticizing himself, think about the process which you completely understand with addiction, whether it's alcohol, narcotics, or drugs, or whatever it is, food.
Yeah.
There's a huge amount of internal abuse.
Yes. And I can see that in him doing that, yes. I totally can see it. And I was like, okay.
It's the alter ego abusing the true sense of self, and eventually you're defined by the alter ego, and you lose sense of the self.
Yeah.
Anyhow, all right. Well, this has been a really long one, but freaking fabulous.